Okay, so we're all set up, I think, for the second talk. It's full screen, Sam. Yep. Thank you. So our second talk of today, Carolyn has already presented about all the hopes and dreams back from 1998. And one of those hopes and dreams, of course, was to have a volunteer program. And Carolyn talked about Wendy being the first volunteer. And so it's my great pleasure to introduce our second speaker today, Syd Howells, who is our volunteer manager at the Egypt Centre, and we'll be talking about volunteering at the museum. As Caroline already said, without volunteers, we just wouldn't be able to exist today as a museum. We rely very heavily on them, and we're grateful to them, and it's nice to see lots of volunteers here, past, present, and hopefully future as well. So over to you, Syd.
Okie dokie. Well, today I'm going to speak about a group of people without whom the museum might still exist, but it wouldn't be as enjoyable or hands-on or the quirky and homespun place we've all come to know and love. I'm on a bit of a hide into nowhere in this talk. 11 slides, not enough to adequately illustrate all the wonderful effort freely given through volunteering over the past 25 years. No doubt there will be many who will ask, why wasn't my photo in the PowerPoint? And there will also be those, upon realizing their photograph has been used, will quite simply say, why? Time and place are the issue here, and when I don't know the exact number of people who volunteered at the Egypt Centre since it began, you'll have to wait for my PhD for that information. I can confirm that since I took up post in 2012, there have been approximately 800 volunteers, work placements, international work placements, etc. I think probably the total is heading somewhere towards 2,000 over 25 years. While it's true that the Egypt Centre opened in September '98, volunteers were included in the creation of the museum prior to the opening. It was recognised very early on that including volunteers had many benefits to the museum. It meant that things could get done. For the Egypt Centre to offer activities to the public, such as mummification, Senate, etc., these are all time-heavy activities. The success of the museum was largely due to unpaid individuals, and our volunteer programme made a virtue out of a necessity. Initially, a lack of personnel forced reliance on volunteers. However, we since turned that to our advantage, using our volunteers to widen participation in the community, and we see our volunteers as an important means by which the wider community can become involved in the centre. Times, distant past, before Egypt Centre volunteers were a thing, there was Carolyn, who in August '97 was appointed curator of the Egypt Centre, the sole member of staff. Wendy then began volunteering in November '97, the first ever volunteer. However, by August 1998, she had gone over to the dark side and become a staff member. Wendy was shortly followed by Stuart Williams, who later became the first chair of the Friends of the Egypt Centre. And in February 2000, also went over to the dark side and became the first Egypt Centre volunteer manager. In 1998, Hazel Merriman began volunteering. Hazel had a particular talent for the shop and was also known as She of the Unwrapping. Due to her nursing background and a superhuman talent for rolling bandages. Now, Hazel volunteered with us from the beginning until 2012. And of course, Sheila and the ever wonderful Merlis both began volunteering in July 1998. Sadly, Merlis passed away in 2012. However, as a former maths teacher, she was absolutely invaluable at helping create our maths activity for the schools and for visitors. And of course, Sheila went on to hang out with the Friends of the Egypt Centre for several decades. Fair? Okay, so all this was happening. Then in September '98, the Egypt Centre was open to the world. Of the current and former members of staff, to my knowledge, just 4 had not previously volunteered at the museum. Myself, Caroline, Meg, and my predecessor, Ashley. The shadow of some of our current staff and volunteers looms large over the history of the Egypt Centre. And while some might disappear for a short time, they end up returning to what I call Wales's premier Egyptological attraction. Admittedly, Wales's only Egyptological attraction, but you know exactly where I'm coming from here. Now, in February 1999, the Young Volunteer Scheme began. The first 3 volunteers were Ben, Jody, and Ross. Hitting the ground running by July 1998, they had become runners-up in the Swansea Bay Young Achievers Award. Saturday visitors to the museum may well be greeted by an enthusiastic child, anxious to demonstrate the ancient Egyptian board game Senet or reveal the secrets of mummification. Performances may vary. Now, it's an innovative program which has been used as an example of good practice for other museums, including the national museums, for setting up similar programs. Some volunteers come to us to gain credits for the Welsh Baccalaureate or Duke of Edinburgh Awards, and we've got no problem with that. Many of our young volunteers go on to higher education. In fact, several started at Swansea University last week, and one of our former young volunteers started at Oxford University last week also. Yes, I take all the credit for that, okay? So, in essence, our young volunteers are the next generation of museum staff. And if we can help boost their confidence, well-being, and potential employability, all the better. Now, there is a running joke where I say no one ever leaves. And occasionally it's true. Some leave, later return. There are some in this room who appear unable to escape. For example, who would have thought when he began at the museum 23 years ago that fresh-faced Shabti enthusiast would one day find himself curator of the finest Egyptological museum in all of Wales? The only Egyptological museum in all of Wales. Now, I believe the length of service of some of our volunteers and staff has been a benefit to the museum, ensuring a continuity other museums look at jealously. Now, in August 2000, Sandra Hawkins started volunteering with us until finally escaping in 2019. Sam Powell volunteered from 2003 to 2007, burrowed out, then reappeared in 2017. Peter Jones began volunteering in 2002, and in April 2003 was taken on as a part-time member of staff. Peter continues to volunteer at the museum to the present day. In fact, he's currently watching this while sat in the Egypt Centre shop. Hi, Pete. Now, Barbara Miles volunteered with us from August 2001 until she sadly passed away in 2021. Claire Edwards, she volunteered with us from August 2001 until she too passed away in 2014. Alison John has volunteered with us since October 2000 and has not escaped. Still here. She will be around with Welsh cakes later. And Marlene volunteered with us in 2000, disappeared for a bit, then reappeared. There's a theme running through all this, I feel. Now, people volunteer for a variety of reasons. For example, a love of Egyptology or a desire to meet new friends or add experience to their CV or simply because they want to help. Now, the family and friendly-like atmosphere at the museum should never be underestimated. Now, we do host work placements for under 18s and also adult work placements in conjunction with the job centre, etc. We welcomed our first international work placement to the museum in June 1999. And before Britain opted out of the Erasmus scheme, we welcomed many placements from around the world, particularly popular with Italian and French students. We've also worked with Pathways Training, Shaw Trust, Jobforce Wales, etc., to provide placements to people with autism, ADHD, etc. And we work with other departments in Swansea University, offering placements to their students, such as the MA in Heritage. And once a year, we offer the practicum module, where students spend a month with us learning about museum work as part of their degree. Swansea University volunteers, student volunteers can also take part in the Higher Education Achievement Record Awards, where they can achieve bronze, silver, and gold awards, which are recorded on their final degree transcript. Now, what do? Basically, the three essential core tasks are supervising the galleries, making sure the galleries are safe places for visitors, visitor and customer care, and educational delivery. So that's delivering the activities, mummification, Senet, and the material handling board. There are lots of different sort of roles. There's the gallery assistant, there are the people who look after the galleries. Then we've got educational assistants helping with our school visits. We've got a shop assistant, admin assistant, transcription volunteers, transcribing old documents relating to the collection, helping me with paperwork. We've got gallery supervisors, who are people who can actually lead tours around the galleries, and education leaders who assist our learning team in teaching Egyptological activities of visiting school groups. Besides the roles noted, many adapt activities already on offer. We're making props to enhance the activities, such as costumes, headdresses, wigs, etc. Volunteers also pilot new activities before they are offered to the visitors and evaluate them. There is a genuine family atmosphere at the museum, and our adult volunteers are aged from 18 to 85 plus. The person who's 85 plus would not thank me for the real age, okay? We also have a very, very small group of distance volunteers who are primarily people living overseas who like to contribute to the Egypt Centre. And they help to translate our Abaset site, the sort of Egypt Centre online catalogue, into languages other than English, thereby increasing our potential for engagement. Now, as Carolyn pointed out, the volunteering programme is essential to the running of the museum. Between August 2022 and July 2023, the Egypt Centre had 124 volunteers, aged between 10 and 87, contributing over 8,000 volunteering hours. If that was a grade 1 post, that's about £124,000. Now, training, we do give them training. We offer formal and peer training at the museum. Peer training being other volunteers and staff, teaching the public activities, etc., to new volunteers, getting them involved. And formal training can involve elements of museum work, such as preventive conservation, museum ethics, customer care, safeguarding, as well as occasional classes on Egyptological subjects. By propagation, I mean the spreading of an idea. In essence, the Egypt Centre is a breeding ground for ambition and hope, an environment where individuals can realise their potential and which acts as a stepping stone towards their future. We've had many Swansea student volunteers from various departments who've gone on to gain paid employment in other museums, the wider heritage field, education, conservation, etc. And there are former Egypt Centre volunteers, if there is such a thing, in museums all over the world. It's a fairly long list. Wolverhampton Museum, Manchester, New Museum of Greek Archaeology in Reading, Angretha Cymru, Cardiff Story, British Museum, Petrie Museum, etc., etc. It's all part of a Bond-esque plan for me to put our volunteers in all of the museums of the world. That is my plan. Okay. Now, awards, yeah, we got a few of those. Now, if you look at online reviews about the Egypt Centre, usually our volunteers are mentioned. Comments like, awesome collection for anyone who knows lots or little about Egypt, and the volunteers are a fantastic asset. Or, so surprised with the quantity and quality of the artefacts inside, and the volunteers were so polite and helpful. Knowledgeable and enthusiastic volunteers. Subsequently, we are no strangers to awards. The young volunteers won the Diana Award for champion volunteering on several occasions. In 2009, our young volunteers won the Marsh Award for Volunteers for Museum Learning, and that's the Welsh regional winners, an award through the British Museum. And in 2017, our adults won the same award. In 2021, Sam Powell deservedly won the award also for a work for the museum during the pandemic. Well done, Sam. Okay. I hadn't thanked you before. In 2010, they won the Wales Council for Voluntary Action Award for Volunteer Group of the Year for all of Wales. In 2018 and 2019, we won the Swansea Life Awards for Best Leisure and Tourist Establishment in Swansea. And then in 2018, the Egypt Centre volunteers were awarded the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service, which is the equivalent of an MBE, the sort of highest award. And Wendy and I can both confirm that there's nice cake at Buckingham Palace. So basically, as it says there, the Egypt Centre is much more than simply a collection of Egyptian artefacts held for the delight of a few experts. Like other museums, we feel those artifacts can be used as a basis for improving the lot of a great many individuals. I can't improve on that statement. I will now hand over to long-standing volunteer, Dr. Dulcie Engel, another person who hasn't escaped. Dulcie has been a mainstay of the museum since she began volunteering with us back in the halcyonic days of April 2014. Now is your opportunity, Dulcie, to let everyone know what you've been up to.